Hey, what's up, everyone? Mack Garrison here, co-founder of Dash Studio, and I'm excited to be back with another speaker series interview. And we got the talented Barry Kelly, who's a nerd from Nebraska, self-described nerd, who also loves to be an Emmy award-winning, who happens to be an Emmy award-winning artist working in animation for the past 18 years. Director at Titmouse cartoons. His credits include Star Wars, Galaxy of Adventures, Son of Zorn, and Venture Bros. He recently wrapped up the 5th season of the hit sci-fi series Star Trek Lower Decks for CBS, Paramount Plus. Welcome to the show, Barry. So glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mac.
I feel
Warning
like,
on this side.
oh my gosh, that's right. You're up bright and early. I'm on my third cup of coffee. So if that comes through in the interview,
Yeah.
you know why. I think it's first we need to just acknowledge how cool our lives are right now, because we're sitting here. You're coming to speak at the Dash Bash animation conference, and we're going to talk shop and just kind of hang out. Pretty neat that this is our job in the middle of a day, for me at least, on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always like, am I useful, or I don't know how to do anything else. I don't know, I know how to draw pictures, and I know how to, make like a cool image, and I'm so into like comics and toys and all these things, and I'm like, I hope I can entertain somebody, so I'm useful. That being of service is something I subscribe to.
I saw the news come out recently that 2024 YR4 asteroid that could hit us. I don't know if you saw this in like 10
No,
years.
I'm
There's a
assuming
random
it's happening all the time.
Yeah,
Is what
there's a
I
random
assume.
asteroid and it's plummeting towards us. I think there's like a 1 in 42 chance that it hits us. And I was thinking, I was like, if there was like a shelter, Greenland style like shelter or something like that, we would not make it. Like they are not looking for animators to join the team. Maybe if we were architects or someone in the healthcare
Or
space.
in those scenarios, I always think like, you have to do a tally of like, what can you do? What can you do? What
Right.
can you do? And like, I can build lodging, I can hunt, I can do this. And then it gets to me and it's like, I can draw and they're just like, your food. And they're just gonna, I'll just be the thrown in the fridge.
You're like, I can make a good joke from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, on occasion.
On
It's,
occasion.
it's quantity over quality though.
So funny. It feels so accurate. But yeah, no, you're right though. I mean, we are in a cool space. It is lucky to be able to do what we do. I'm always curious how folks end up here, because animation has a multitude of different routes, from more the entertainment space, the production space. I mean, there's a lot. When did that moment kind of hit you where you're like, oh, animation's kind of like the direction I need to go?
I always feel like there's like a group of wannabe comic book artists that got sucked up by the animation industry, and I'm definitely one of those. There are comic book artists that were legitimate that actually got published for real that became sucked in the animation industry, but I'm definitely one of the ones that's like I can draw kind of. I like film, I like all these things, and when I moved out to LA, it was kind of like my talents that I could that I was okay at, which was kind of drawing, kind of film stuff, kind of like led me to like the combination of the two, which is animation. And I don't know why I always think that like I never thought I'd get an animation because I've loved cartoons just as much as I loved anything else. Like Simpsons and Batman were huge in my life, and I think Simpsons kind of like probably has like a huge effect on more people than we realize, just because it's been on for so long and it's
Oh my gosh,
there's
my childhood.
generations now.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
there's
like after dinner, it was like Simpsons were on,
yeah, it's like
my
reruns.
household.
Yeah, reruns of The Simpsons was worth it, and like now, like there's generations of kids who know a Simpsons I don't know.
Oh yeah, which is really interesting in this new, not to talk too much about the
That's fine.
marketing side of it, but you have these worlds, Disney has a Simpson ride, there's the
Yeah,
old Simpson shows, there's the characters, and how all these people are coming into the world building from different areas. It's just kind of wild and bonkers this day and age.
yeah. I think that was something else that triggered my. I guess like I'm trying to think like what was a good example where like you saw like the movie of something like maybe Transformers or something, and then you saw the toys and you're like, well, that's kind of different, but it's the same, and you kind of realize that there's like when they become like a different medium, it's almost like you get a different like expansion of that IP or that idea, and it's like really cool to see how it's translated. Like I think early on, like I wasn't ever like there was no like definitive version of anything. Like all the like whatever came out kind of became your oh, that's what they look like as action figures. That's what they look
Right.
like as that. It's like that is like that whole world that you're talking about. It kind of just
Was it
adds to it.
were you growing up, were you a big Star Wars fan? I'm just thinking
Oh
about,
yeah.
you got to work on Star Wars, Galaxy of Adventures, these kind of little shorts. Like how did
Yeah.
growing up being a big fanboy of Star Wars kind of
I mean,
translate into that?
with those shorts, it's kind of like there's a certain feeling that those movies gave me. Like and that's kind of what I was trying to channel when, because the what's pretty special about, at least for me, with those shorts is like, usually if you're making something of Star Wars today, you have to like make expand on it, or maybe go back in the prequel origins of Star Wars or
Mhm.
whatever. And like, what was fun is like I got to just mess with the three characters that I love in Star
That's
Wars, which
awesome.
was Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca and Darth Vader and stuff. And so like getting to not many people get to just play with those characters. And like what I got to do was make kind of like the way those the feelings that those movies gave me, like how important those fights or that
Mhm.
those confrontations felt. Like I kind of got to do that and make those animations like feel that way. Like I made them feel a little bit more like epic or more dramatic than maybe they would watch the movie. They're a little bit, they're shot with real people. And then in this one I get to do like the excited animated dramatic version that of just capturing like how they felt to me as a kid. So
With something
those are
like
super fun.
that, a brand that's like has so much history, right? For so many people, when you get on a project like that, I don't know exactly what the terminology would be, but like, like a character Bible, for lack of a better word. Like, are there things like you get that, you're like, all right, these are do's and don'ts. You can explore your take on it here, but you got to be honoring this piece of it. Did you get a lot of that with that
A
project?
little bit, yeah. It's more the people that you're working with that kind of
Mm.
become that Bible. Like there was a guy named Matt Martin who's kind of like the Star Wars Bible in a way. He kind of like, but they all kind of know like they want you to know and don't know about what else is going on so that you don't step on anybody else's toes. So like it's kind of it's very much people driven. And the Lucasfilm, it's a story group that they call it, and
Mm.
they're all pretty great, and they're all no one is really like you can't do this, or like you can't go too far. Like I was kind of surprised at how much like I'm like, can I cut off someone's hand in this, like they did it in the movie, but
Yeah,
can we,
right.
they're like, yeah, well, it happened so we can do it. Like it's like they're very much about like what encapsulates Star Wars and other properties is like, you need it to be dramatic when it's dramatic, you need to be scary when it's scary, you need it to be funny when it's funny, and it's like as long as you're pushing those moments where they're supposed to be, they're all on board. And I think like yeah, as far as like the Bibles and whatnot, like there's so much, like you said, there's so much history, there's so much 30, I mean at that point there's 35 years of books
Right. Yeah.
and comics and everything, and there's definitely like it was after Disney, so there was definitely like a chunk of stuff that like is called legacy,
Mhm. Sure.
and um that's the stuff I grew up on. But like they're still trying to like they don't want to completely exercise it from from they're kind of like like weaving it into some of the new Disney like post Disney
Oh,
canon and stuff.
right. Sure.
So there is like a little bit of that going on, but they kind of the story group is kind of like the ones who kind of keep everything on track as best they can, which sounds like a stressful task because I don't know how you please everybody when
Yeah,
you're kind of like
100%. You can't, right? I mean, there's
yeah.
no way. You're just trying to massage it the best you can. That's so
Hmm.
wild.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Star Wars as a kid. I had like one of my friends were like collecting baseball cards. I had like the Star Wars customizable card game. Like I didn't even know, like I don't even think people realize
Yeah.
that that was a thing,
Oh yeah.
Just investing tons of money into it, It's like sitting in a drawer somewhere. Maybe it'll be
There were
valuable at some point.
yeah, there were tournaments. The people played that. People, yeah, just like Pokemon.
Oh, I know,
That
Barry.
was a
You're
big
like
thing.
one of 5 people who knows that
In
that
your friend
exists.
group, yeah, you
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be the
right.
only one. Yeah.
All right, so tell me this. You grew up in Nebraska. I wouldn't exactly say thriving animation scene, but I don't know. Nebraska could be. How did you end up making the move and saying like, "Cool, I'm gonna go out to LA," or like, was it school and Full Sail that really sent you down that direction? Like, how'd you kind of go down that path and get out into the industry?
I always had some encouraging art teachers growing up.
Mm.
But what was kind of like the trigger for me was in high school there was like kind of like a lottery grant to our school. Our school was pretty good. Like they had like some of the computer labs, like they had PCs and stuff like that. I think that was new to me. Like I was used to every school having Macs, so we
Oh,
did have
sure.
PC labs and stuff. So like we could mess around with Photoshop and stuff. Excuse me. But one thing that happened in my junior year of high school was our school got like a lottery grant, and they created like a technological school. Like
Oh,
they had an art school, they had like a kind of like they called it a zoo school. It's like a science kind of magnet school, but they had
nice.
this technology one, and it had like three brand new computer labs, and like some of it was for like coding and learning like oh gosh, Cisco, that
Oh,
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
And
Okay.
like, and then the other one was like, I think they called it like creative or arts program or something like that. And it's pretty much a computer lab that had like Photoshop, Final Cut,
Oh, sick.
After Effects, and Flash. This was like Macromedia Flash.
Yeah.
This is Final Cut, like 2.
Yeah.
Like
Final Cut's like,
Photoshop.
we're glad to be open right now and working.
Yeah, yeah. Like Photoshop was like 6, and like our teacher actually wrote the technical manual for Final Cut Pro, but like uh it was generally kind of teachers who also didn't really know the software either so much. So it was a lot of us just fucking like messing around and just screwing up like in the programs like crazy, and eventually like I don't know how we wrangled ourselves to make some video projects, but we did that and kind of like learned, in high school, like a very shitty pipeline of, you know, recording on high 8, digitizing it,
Nice.
adding special effects to it, and green screen chroma key stuff. And it got us some like stupid awards that, like we won like an iPod, like the first iPod, the very first iPod,
You got it. Nice. Gen
which
1.
is still the best iPod I think I
Oh
ever
my
had. It's
gosh,
like 5
100%.
gig. It like lasted, had the longest battery. It
The
worked the
brick, the
best.
scroll wheel, the tactile nature of it, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like our prize at the time. But that kind of like gave me just some tools that I could work with. Now, like, you got the iPhone, and you got,
Sure.
the Final Cut on the iMovie and all that stuff. But
Oh yeah, I mean TikTok is probably more powerful than what we were
yeah,
learning Final Cut on the old days, right?
yeah, yeah. I can't believe it. Yeah, like all the face swapping and all the effects and
Yeah,
stuff.
crazy.
But that kind of gave me just like a good tactile knowledge of like how to use software and stuff, and like what was universal between programs.
Mm.
And then after that, like it was like, okay, I literally saw Full Sail in the comic book. Like they had put
Oh,
ads
no
in comic
way.
books. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is everything I want to do. I'll just go there. And then that's literally how that was my decision maker. I
That's
was
amazing.
terrible in school. I was never going to go to like a fancy, you know,
You
honest
school for
education.
you had to come out of a comic book.
Mm, that is true. That is 100% true. I just remembered that now.
That's so funny. I love that. You struck a memory for me. I'm jealous at least you had teachers who kind of knew what they were doing to kind of direct you in high school, at least in the early days. My first animation experience, this is not even a joke. This is literally my first animation experience. It was PowerPoint that you could adjust. So in PowerPoint, you could adjust so the slide playback was like
Oh yeah,
0.1 second. So I'd made this huge PowerPoint deck and just flickered through the
that is
slides to
so
get the
smart.
image. I know. So credit to my
That's a
teacher for
flip
coming
book.
up with that. It was a flip
That's
book.
so smart.
It
That's
was a
awesome.
digital flip book. That was the first introduction to animation. I was like, oh, this
Wow.
is kind of cool. Maybe I'll do some more of this stuff.
That is
Super funny.
awesome. Never
So,
thought of that.
so you end up Full Sail and then graduate. And did you go directly like kind of into the entertainment space out there? Like intern, get a job? Did you go freelance? Like how'd that kind of roll?
Yeah, so I went to Full Sail for a year, and me and my buddy graduated. And, a bunch of guys moved out to LA, got in a house together. Just invaded each other's space, and
Sure.
then I mean, I didn't know what to do out there.
Yeah.
Like you're just trying to make friends, and it's hard to do that. But one of my first jobs, I mean, some of the crappier gigs I had was like I was an extra
Oh,
and
nice.
in the background of a few shows. It was kind of funny. I could tell mom I was going to be in this show, and she'd catch me in the background of like Joan of Arcadia or something back in the day.
Amazing.
Um, and but that was still interesting. Like 'cause when I went to Full Sail to like learn cameras and production, so I
Mhm.
was still like kind of like getting to just watch them make stuff. Like even when I
Yeah.
was a boring, background artist. And then I kind of did the same thing. I was almost like an extra in video game industry. I became a video game tester,
Oh, wild.
and which was just like an office job, like,
Sure.
and like the worst office job because it was like you're just shoved in, offices,
I,
cold,
I have like I
hospital
have vision
feeling.
of like Grandma's Boy. When I think of video game
I
testers,
wish,
that's like
yeah.
Grandma's Boy. I'm like, that sounds like an amazing job. And it sounds
I
like in an office park,
Yeah,
basically.
I think that job does exist, but well, I learned like if you were a game tester, if you work for the publisher, you're like it's like 500 to you just playing the game. They just need
Sure.
hours of the game. But if you're with the developer, you're getting to talk to them and the artists and also,
Mm.
and you're like, oh, that's like where like if you could work at the developers, that's where like if you're a video game wannabe
Mhm.
talent and like that's your pad. Like you want to work with those guys because then you're
I
actually
see.
and then publishers is just kind of like you're the guy just reading the book, just
Yeah.
just reading everything, making sure that
It makes
spelling.
sense, right?
Yeah, you're just bodies for the grinder or whatever. But but no, while that was going on, I was trying to get better at drawing, and I got an internship with a place called Animax, and that was like Flash It cartoons, like
Oh, wow.
like
Okay.
like like back in the day, and it was like they were technically probably a competitor to Titmouse. There was
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 like Flash studios that were pretty big out there, and Animax was one of them. And I was a story intern, drawing like really bad like revisions to storyboards on paper to for some like National Geographic shorts, like little just all, it was all it was either like websites for Disney or like, like medical cartoons to teach
Oh
kids
yeah.
about asthma, like all that, like kind of like medical stuff. But it was all like practical work. Like I was editor, compositor. I learned like I couldn't really draw, so I couldn't really animate that well.
Mm.
So I was learning from like animators who could animate very well. I was learning from story artists who could draw pretty well. But I kind of became like the de facto like compositor, editor guy for them, like because of that all that work that I learned in high school. So I was still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Just
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of all came together as kind of this generalist, right? Being able to do all these
yeah.
different things for the shop. You probably got a lot of exposure and trying different stuff there too, which is cool.
Yeah. No, like I guess I felt like definitely that whole jack of all trades, master of none thing because
Yeah, sure.
it was like what I think I think I wasn't sure if I was gonna stick in animation just because I wasn't doing the art side and and also we weren't doing like super cinematic
Mm,
storytelling, which is what I wanted to do. And
right.
2008 happened. That was like the housing boom, and
Yeah.
like people got laid off, and I was kind of like editing on freelance and all that stuff. Still trying to draw, but I just hunkered down. I was like, I gotta get good at drawing, and I like took like 2 years of like workshops, like
Sure.
sculpting, drawing, all that
Did
stuff.
they made it through like because I mean Flash kind of had its heyday and then kind of
Yeah,
dissolved, right? Like were
yeah.
they still around and navigating? Were
I
you there when
think
they were navigating Flash
I think
basically?
they are still technically around, but it was like at the time it was like everyone realized that like I think everyone learned like why are we making websites in Flash? Like
Yeah, right.
why would we do that? Like this like there's whatever Web 2.0 came out at the time
Yeah.
or HTML 2, I don't remember. And I think a big thing with them was like they were making everyone wanted to make a virtual world like
Oh,
for
right.
their toy. Like if you bought a toy or whatever, you go on here and you can make your avatar and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like, it's not too different from today, but like everyone was making them in Flash. And I think
All
that was
right.
really when they realized like we don't need to make these in Flash. Like you can make them in something else or something
Flash was so
smaller.
insane. I mean, I remember doing like Flash, like learning it myself, and like I'd open up the program for stuff that I worked on all day yesterday, and it was just gone.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, wait a
Oh,
minute,
the
what?
crashes would be so bad.
So brutal over
And
the
like
years.
and we're still using, I mean, it's changed to animate,
Sure, right.
but like we've Titmouse is still using it. We still use it. Like it's funny that they never used to like I feel like animators were like the bastard children to the Adobe or to the Macromedia Flash
I
suite,
think we still
essentially.
might be, honestly.
Yeah, right. And now it's like supposed to be made for us, but I feel like animate. Yeah, now they're like they have no. There's nobody else using it except for the animators. So now
Right.
like
They're
they
like,
have
all
to.
right, I guess we'll add some features you guys want to hear.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. But whatever code they used, like After Effects, Flash, and all that stuff, like whatever code is still in there, is still super flexible and still you
Cool.
can still do like a lot of amazing things with it. So it's no wonder like we're still using it.
A random sidebar question because we kind of experimented this a little bit. What we do a lot at the studio is a little bit more on the corporate side, but every now and then we get to do some cell work. And for a while, we experimented with Animate, we did Harmony, we did
Mhm.
TV Paint. Do you feel like, from Titmouse's perspective, like have y'all leaned in? Is Animate where y'all want to be? Do you think that's like the best industry standard, or do you feel like flexible that all three of those kind of have their time of day in certain instances?
I think it's a B. It's exactly what you said.
Mm,
I think maybe at some point Animate was going to be like the all-in
yeah,
thing, and I think with we do animation in house, we do animation, overseas. There's no like one way we do it, and I think that's kind of maybe that's the special sauce. It's
yeah,
like learning
true.
to be flexible, because I've had projects where I've got an animator animating in Clip Studio. I've got an animator animating in TV Paint. I've got one
Cool.
animating in Flash. And like I mean, what I learned from that is like, oh, anybody can animate in everything they want as long as we can bring it together and kind of clean it up
Yeah.
in color in the same way. Like once we do that, like we can get it into, After Effects or whatever final suite you need. But like, yeah, generally like if you need that talent, like you like the talented animators, you might need them to work in whatever they need to work in so that they can
Right,
work
because
as
you
fast
just
as
need them to move
possible.
quickly and whatever
Yeah.
they feel comfortable in. Because,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
oftentimes, like, I guess with deadlines, it's like, yeah, we can't mess around with trying to learn new
Exactly.
things or get people on the same platform. It's like, let's just move and go, right?
Yeah, and I know that Blender's like has spurned like a lot of
Yeah.
excitement being free and grease
Hmm.
pencil and stuff, but I still haven't. I know some movies and features have been made successfully 100% in Blender, but I know being a big, Titmouse is pretty big, and it's like I mean employee wise, I would
Sure,
say.
right.
So it's like it's hard to move that like boat into
Yeah.
something. So we're always trying to find like some small project that we could kind of do a little bit more experimentation on.
It's
But
interesting. I mean, like even Blender from like a 3D standpoint, we were always kind of Cinema 4D. That was kind of go to for the more motion
yeah,
graphic work. Maya's always been there for like character work, things like that. But it is interesting seeing just like what this newer generation is coming out of school. Are like, look, I don't have any money, so I downloaded
yeah,
Blender, and this is what I'm making. You're like, oh wow, that's actually like not too bad. Fidelity, of
yeah,
this is pretty good.
yeah. It's like it's as long as you can figure out how to like connect to the other programs that you may need. I
Exactly.
think you're in a good. You can learn how to use it and make it flexible.
Well, I definitely took us down this like ADD
It's
rabbit
okay.
hole
It's all
on like
technical stuff. I
on
get it.
technical stuff. I was there. I was
I love it.
interested into it. So let's go back. All right. So you're out in LA. You're kind of getting this generalist knowledge. Let's fast forward a little bit because I don't want to spoil too much that you might talk about at the bash. You get over to Titmouse. When did you first arrive at Titmouse?
Uh, there was a cartoon that they were making called Motor City,
Mm.
which was one created by Chris Panoski, the owner of the studio. It's like a show he's been working on since the late '90s. He used to work at Liquid Television back in the day, and
Oh
he made a
wow.
show called Downtown. And he worked on like Beavis and Butthead and
Yeah.
Daria and all that stuff back in the day. But he's been making the show for a while, or at least trying to pitch it, develop it, and this some of his like creative execs from MTV Liquid Television work at Disney now, and
Huh.
they're like, hey, you still got that Motor City thing kicking around, and instead of like they used to have cigarettes and tattoos and shit, but now it's like they kind of they made it a little bit more kid friendly, but it was
Sure.
just like a cool show, like it looked amazing, it looked like it was like Robert Valley designs and crazy
Awesome.
extreme cars and stuff, like super fun, like stuff
Killer.
made for toys. And but like all things, like I've learned most in this industry is like it's really hard to get past one season, like first
Yeah.
season. So like it only lasted one season. It came out when like the Tron cartoon
Oh
came out,
yeah.
like so
That's
it's
right.
like another kind of Robert Valley, like two Robert Valley like style shows that were coming out. But it was super. It was a mix of 3D, 2D, and that was like the when I started working there and working on that show was kind of when I opened my eyes of like, oh, you can do cool dramatic stuff in
Yeah.
animation. Like I always thought it was like that's only an anime, which is
Right.
not in the U.S., but that like Motor City was an eye opener just to see like how you could push storytelling and animation in digital space and
That's
Flash and
rad.
all that.
It's interesting, like, you're talking about just like how you can be dramatic in animation. Do you feel like the US has kind of lagged behind in that? Like, I remember watching like Akira for the first time,
Oh yeah,
and like just being like, holy cow, this is
yeah.
insane, right? And just not even having an idea that that even like existed. Do you feel like we've been playing catch up into that a little bit for compared to internationals? Or do you feel like we've kind of got caught up now at this point in kind of what we're doing?
I mean, I feel like it's more of the minority than it is the majority here, because it's hard to say we've been playing catch up, and that I just feel like even with Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks, like it's an adult cartoon, it's
Right.
adult comedy, but like I feel like I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what, but there is like the moment someone hears it's a cartoon, it's kind
Mm,
of like the checkout. Like
yeah.
it's either a kids thing or it's one of those stupid Simpson shows or something
Mhm.
like that. So like there is like a definite like more like an envious like spectrum of anime and manga that they make over there, like for all like for kids and
Yeah.
for they can teach you how to cook, like and
Right.
there's anime that'll teach you how to play tennis, manga, like there's things that are there's a bigger spectrum over there of what's considered quality animation material or manga material. And I don't know if like I don't know if it's our cultural like interests or where we've just trained everyone to say like cartoons are Disney and that's it. Like
Right.
like I feel like
Cartoons are
it's
for kids or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, like
exactly.
I feel like it's a little bit of that because we still have like dramatic mature comics.
Mhm.
It just feels more like a niche and a niche audience thing. But I feel like I mean the more that kids are into like they have more access to anime and manga than we ever have. So like
Right.
it's there's proof in the pudding that maybe it's just maybe a boomer generational thing or something that like the kids will who are into all that stuff now will still be into it later because Adult Swim shows all that
Oh
stuff. Like
yeah.
it's just a minority. I feel like getting mature series off the ground is definitely more difficult. But we've done it with Joe Bennett and
Mhm.
Scavenger's Reign and
Yeah.
the new casual common side effects is awesome. Like that's kind of to me,
Yeah,
it's
it's
all that
badass.
that's definitely in the like the right adult drama. There's drama, but it's a comedy too. But it's definite. Um, there's some lights. There's some lights that are
Yeah,
shining.
100%.
Some bright lights that are shining that are more for that mature animation side.
Well, and like you alluded to, Star Trek Lower Decks, and like people, it's coming a bit more mainstream in some of those ways as well too. That are bringing more people in. You've worked on, I'm looking at all the different projects that you've touched. I mean, you've done so many cool things. This is kind of a big loaded question because it's hard to pick favorites or anything like that. But I'm just curious, thus far in your, the 18 years or so you've been animating, do you have any like favorite moments or favorite projects you've been able to work on that you're just like, yeah, all this stuff is cool. I'm so proud of everything I've done, but just really especially like being able to work on this or what I did with this project.
Um, Star Wars was a biggie. It's my like Star Trek, Star Wars. Like I kind of get into these things that start with Star. But Star Wars and Star Trek were pretty special because like I feel like you can't be like there's always the stigma of like you can't be a fan of both, or whatever, but I'm a fan of both. Most people
Right.
are, and getting to play in the sandbox of both those worlds was pretty incredible, and it's not something I ever thought would happen. Like there's still like a bit of that nostalgia member berry
Yeah.
stuff happening when I'm doing that, and like just trying to like make like the version that you wanted that I imagine there's other kids or whatever like that are me now, watching whatever they're consuming now and just like hoping that you're kind of like, trying to set them up or make like those member berries now like for what you want them to watch when they're older or maybe inspire them to make stuff that like, similar, like inspire them to like make it feel make those those properties feel as like magical as they felt to you when you were smaller.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think it's still easy, even though we're all kids inside and we're operating this like play box of animation, which is super fun. There's still the politics of the stuff that we deal with and
Yeah.
stakeholders and all sorts of stuff. And so it's easy to feel jaded and being like, why, fine, whatever, we'll just do X, Y, Z, right? If it just appeases everyone. But like, the like 10-year-old is like, no, you got to do this. The guts have
Yeah.
to come out of the hand or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which I do
sweet.
love. Yeah,
Nice.
sick,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone told me one time, the best place to be in life. This was actually a quote from my executive producer. So, Marin, if you're listening to this, thank you for this. She said the only two people that you need to make happy in your life are, I think it's like your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self.
That's
And
good.
I really love that because it's like, the 80-year-old self is probably saying like, look, don't work too hard, relax a little bit. And the 8-year-old self is just like make cool stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like with what you're doing, you would echo that sentiment. But I don't know. I'm not to put you on the spot. Do you think you're impressing your 80-year-old self and your 8-year-old self?
I think there's some moments I've done. I'm pretty. I don't know if you're like, if a lot of us are similar. I know that we all have like a lot of anxiety and self confidence issues, and I'm like overthinking every frame of what we're
Right.
making and overthink. But I think there are some moments where I'm like, I think I did pretty good on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's also like a big asterisk on all of this. That's like our egos are still pushing us to like
Yeah.
do this stuff. Like we think we can do this stuff. Like we think we like I think I can do this. Yeah, I'm the one who can do this, and nobody else would be better at it than me. Like, yeah, there's still like even though they're like all these like manic issues in your brain, there's still a big asterisk that's like, no, I can do this. Yeah. No, you can do this. Yeah. I'm the one who's right. Like
Yeah, 100%. Well, we get so caught up in like looking ahead on what we want to do, or when we do look back, it's what we wish we would have done. I think that's a
yeah,
big thing. Is like, oh, I wish I could have done this. But
yeah,
so rarely do we ever be like, yeah, I crushed that. Look how great this is. Like I'm proud
yeah,
of what I made here and this time and
yeah.
energy I put into it.
Like I don't know if you have to like end up rewatching anything you've done in the past. You're
Oh
just like,
God,
"Ugh,
yeah.
I didn't fix this. I could have fixed that. Oh my gosh, look at that line thickness. That's way
Oh,
off. Yeah,
100%. You catch like the little error and you're like, did anyone else see that? And you're like, I'm
yeah.
just gonna pretend I didn't see
Yeah,
that or
or
whatever.
like when a fan or like an audience member catches something you didn't, and it's like
Oh,
you know how many we fixed like 180. You know how many like how much stuff we fixed just to mess up that one time,
Oh,
man.
I know. Oh, I know. It
Yeah,
happens. None of us are perfect, and
yeah,
you look at something a million times and you kind of become blind a little bit to it, right?
yeah.
This is a random question for you all. How do you all do like a QA process when you're like shipping stuff? I mean, is it basically like everyone looking through it and like are y'all going like frame by frame on stuff to analyze it?
You mean when you say shipping, do you mean like shipping stuff to an overseas animation studio to do, or you mean like or delivering it to like for TV broadcast?
Yeah, yeah. Let's say delivering for TV broadcast. Like, so this
Yeah,
is like the final step before this sucker is like planning to go live. Like, what does that process kind of look like? I'm just so curious.
Yeah, like so we call them take ones or take twos. Like every time it's just like me, my art director, editor, producer, animation supervisor. Where once we kind of get like a full cut of a show, they call it a take one. Like
Mhm.
when it's a first pass, where it's like every single shot's animated. It's not 100% there, but it's kind of the first time we're looking at it as a whole piece. We're literally just going shot by shot, and anything anybody sees, like you call it out. Like just we don't want to miss anything. I'm calling out probably the most, just being annoying. Like, but it's like we're using like lately we've been using Sync Sketch. I don't know if you
Oh,
use that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Just going frame by frame and just drawing notes, 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 notes. Got to do this. This is for animation to fix. This is for background to fix. And then the editor on top of that is putting all this stuff together. But we also have like a QC department, like
Mm.
CBS has a QC
Sure.
department where they're calling us out on like more technical errors. They're catching smaller
Mm.
things that we're missing, text errors, things like that. And it's kind of like we do a take one, a take two, take three, while we're locking, like where we're all just watching everything over and over again. Like, excuse me, by the time it's come out, we've watched, I don't know, I feel like I've watched those shots all like 1,000 times over,
I
like,
believe it because it's hard. Like you watch
yeah.
it for the 10th, 11th time, and you're still trying to like see if you catch anything, right?
Yeah, and it's like there's 300 to 400 shots a show times
Yeah.
10s, 4,000, 5,000 shots sometimes. We're going through a season. It's like it's hard, but there is just like a QC process. Like we also had to do one that was for, I don't know if you've had it encountered before. It's called the Harding test. It's like seizure, like checking to make sure no
Oh,
flashing frames and
yeah. We've
uh
done some stuff through some like ADA compliance with a lot of like websites and things. There's some various pieces that we look into, but that's interesting. So, what's the process of that like?
I mean, it's also I've been working with it since Disney. I think I forget if it was because of Pokemon
Mhm.
or some project, but it's software. It's essentially like Disney has licensed it, or so and so has licensed it, and when we submit it for the final piece, like they submit the whole episode and they kind of just run the whole episode through this software, and it kind of gives you a readout of like, this is red flashing
Hmm.
frames, this is like white flashing frames intense, and we kind of have to go into After Effects and fix it. We're lucky that we can change it in shots, but there
Yeah,
are
right.
times where they call it sometimes it's like a post house that just does a blanket fix over everything. And like, I don't
Oh,
know if
like
you
a
ever
like a
notice.
film over something,
Yeah, if you
basically.
never noticed on like you'll see it on like some Netflix shows or maybe a Prime or whatever, you're streaming, where all of a sudden like maybe something goes by fast and it gets weirdly gray.
Oh yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah,
ever notice that, you'll be like, "Oh, that was like a post
yeah.
house. That was a post house seizure fix where they just kill the contrast until like it passes the test and then it goes back up again."
Because they're basically like, oh yeah, we can send it back to them, or we just put this fix on, just keep it moving forward. And they
Yeah,
do
because
that.
sometimes they might be getting these licensed shows or whatever, like
Mhm.
that they might have been done a year from now.
Right,
It could be I mean it could be something from 10 years ago that they're having
right,
maintenance on.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh, that's so interesting.
they could do it
Well,
better.
yeah, of course they can. But yeah, that was really interesting. I mean, like even on like a smaller level with what we do, I mean, there's similarities. But yeah, I mean, I imagine for broadcasts, especially big broadcast stuff, it's like you've got um, the whole like CBS team looking at stuff. You got y'all looking at it. It's just a million different eyes, which is
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, we're coming up on time here. I got one more question for you. I'm always so intrigued on who some of the people that I'm inspired by, who are they inspired by, right? I mean, there's so many folks coming to the Dash Bash who are going to be pumped to hear from you, what Titmouse has done, what you've been able to do. I'm really curious from your perspective, who are some of the folks either today or even growing up that really inspired you and your work?
Um the owner of the studio, Chris Bernowski, is a pretty big deal. He's just his attitude, his overall vibe is really good. Like just as a person, just to try to
Mm.
like learn how to be comfortable with people and make them feel comfortable. That's always like hard. Like I said, like we're all manic artists like stuck in their caves and stuff. So it's like, how do I be a person again? So people who are good at, you're pretty good at that, like just making people feel comfortable. So like trying to, people like that are really inspiring to me. Artist wise, like comic book greats, dude. It's like, I don't like, I say comic book names. I'm like, I don't know. Do people know these people anymore? Arthur Adams, like was a
Mm.
huge, inspiration to me. He's a comic book artist from like, he's still around. He's amazing. But like the heyday was the 80s, 90s.
Arthur
He
Adams, he was big on X-Men, right?
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
pretty much like there's like an X-Men image that's like it's probably the most repeated, put on t-shirts, put on lunchboxes, put
Sure.
whatever. It's his X-Men. Like it's
Okay.
his X-Men. He's
Nice.
he's the best. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's the big guys like Jim Lee. All those '90s artists were super important to me. Joe Madureira was like a
Mm.
big X-Men guy. X-Men artists for some reason were always
Look,
the
X-Men was badass, dude.
yeah
100%. Like that's
yeah
why, for sure.
yeah. Um, uh, trying to think of oh man, there's so many. I mean, there's movies that like completely kind of rock my world, and maybe like Paul Verhoeven is one of them, like
Mm.
RoboCop,
Yeah.
Aliens.
Oh, dude,
Like
all the aliens,
yeah,
100%.
like so, like it's like and those
Alien and Aliens, dude. That was like
yeah
I was obsessed with that and like Predator as a kid. Like
yeah
those two, I
Predator
was like
yes.
sick.
100%. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger is super inspiring to me, dude. Like he's the American dream because he's like
Yeah.
a guy who came from another country and became a freaking governor and is a movie star. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's huge inspiration. Like, but no, like those movies, like Paul Verhoeven,
Yep.
Ridley Scott, James Cameron, like they're all like they're like I always look at them as directors that like, oh, they show me what I want to see on screen before I
Mm,
know it. Like before I know
yeah.
that's what I want to see. There's something satisfying. There's always like a lot of payoff in their movies
Yeah.
that like that pays off really well. Like and I think I'm always hoping at the moment to like be able to make something as great as them. Like
Dude, 100%. Their attention to detail in these
yeah.
pieces, and you can tell it's their vision on what they want it to be, which is really good. I'm
Yeah.
always so empowered by folks who have such clarity on what they want to make because it's a really hard thing to do. Like, what is the right decision? What do I want to do? Those directors can get in and be like, no, it's this. This is the world. This is what's happening. I mean, that's really incredible.
Yeah. You're just like hoping for the chance to like do that yourself, like just to make that clear vision, like you're saying.
Oh man, well I love it. Well, everyone, we've been talking today with Barry Kelly. He's a nerd from Nebraska who also happens to be an Emmy award-winning artist working in animation for the past 18 years. Director at Titmouse, makes phenomenal work. Barry, I enjoyed chatting with you so much today.
Hey,
If you
thanks, man.
want to come see Barry, you still have an opportunity. You can get your Dash Bash tickets June 11th through 13th, 2025. That's this year. Believe it or not, it is 2025 in Raleigh, North Carolina. And if you've never been to Raleigh, let me tell you, it is great. It's East Coast. We've got a little edge to ourselves, but we're still tucked in the South. So if you're from the West Coast, we're friendly. It's easy. Got great food. You'll have a blast. Barry, cannot wait to hang with you later on this summer.
Hey, thanks. Can't wait to see y'all. I'm excited. Let's
Thanks,
do it.
everyone. Take care.